that.
It's so wonderful, though. I mean, I just don't understand how it's brilliant to be able to put this music together like this. It really, really is. And I mean, it's not easy.
It's interesting because you genuinely have virgin ears. I mean, you have such a small window of what you've actually heard.
That is true.
And a lot of what you listen to in your normal daily life is not rock or metal. It tends to be more rhythm and blues. It tends to be more neo soul and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So just seeing you react to it, like it's like we get it, you know, but we're used to it.
Yeah.
Like to be fair, the let me say it once. Obliviscaris. Okay, they're not bringing anything new to the table here. Okay, everything that they've done has been done either individually or together.
But in the way that they're
separately.
doing it is different, though. It's interesting.
They're
putting it all together.
Yes.
That's the thing. It now becomes about songwriting. It becomes, listen, when you get good at an instrument, okay, once you're good, okay? So you can play stuff. Now the question is, can you make a good song?
It's about composition, basically.
Yeah. And I love the way, like I said, what was that?
It's a collaborative, from what I understand, it's actually a collaborative effort between the band members. They all basically come up with the music. Zenor writes pretty much all the lyrics. He's very poetic within the lyrics. We may get into that a little bit later. I'm not 100% sure if you want to get into the lyrics, but he's also responsible for the album art, which you can see there in front of you.
Okay.
It's interesting.
He is an artist in his soul.
Mm-hmm.
The song.
At his soul, he's an artist.
The way the song came together for me was very poetic. It felt like it was a poem almost, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, but it did feel very poetic. Yeah.
No, that's right. It does feel very poetic, and the lyrics, as I said, are pretty poetic when you start to get into them. I'm not big on going into lyrics on songs a lot. Yes, there are songs where I will go a bit deeper with the lyrics. Mm-hmm. This isn't particularly one of them.
It's more art than substance.
Really sorry?
It's more art than substance in the song? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Which is fine.
I appreciate that so much.
You familiar with Monster Magnet?
Yes. Saw them live at Soundwave a few years back.
What's that?
They're, I guess you could say they're hard rock. They're very good.
Stoner hard rock.
Stoner hard rock. But the thing is, we're talking about lyrics that may or may not make sense, but it really doesn't matter because they just somehow fit. If you really listen to them, they're absurd, but they somehow always fit. And that's I brought him up because that's a very oddball way of writing songs, right?
Yeah.
Whether it means anything to you is completely subjective.
Yeah.
But it fits the song. It's not annoying. It doesn't take you out of the experience. It in a way, I kind of like it.
System of a Down is like that too.
No, System of a Down, actually, their lyrics...
There's merit and there's substance, yes.
But they're also absurd. You're right.
Yeah.
It can also sound absurd.
You know.
Yes.
You know, do you think... Because you're talking about this band winning a competition, do you think that part of why a band like this needs to do Patreon and crowdfunding is that they are from Australia? Do you think that there is a hindrance? Because there's not...
Yes, it is a reasonably big hindrance in now. We have a small population that is spread out a fair way across the country. The other thing too is obviously these guys are a bit of a niche band that need more worldwide exposure to get more fans. They're not something that people are going to go looking for.
Well, this is right up my alley, and I did not hear of them until we started the reaction channel, you know? And I think that's why we hear of them is... Because I always wonder, like, why this band out of all the other bands? And now I realize I think it's because of that fan support, because people realize that, you know, this band needs that support and they deserve it so that the fans are getting behind them. And I think that's why they're so heavily requested on these channels.
I want them to get exposure. Obviously, awesome. I wanted that reaction that we got out of Sistah, and I'm so happy that we got that reaction out of Sistah. It was almost more than what I was expecting. But
it's more than I was expecting too. I had no idea about the song, but you know, yes. You know, I got a flow, and it was awesome.
I'm trying to think of another metal band from Australia. Parkway Drive, maybe?
Parkway Drive's pretty up there.
Not a lot
And
of
again,
metal
back-
that
back then-
like international, you know. So it's
No. Look, there is and was and has been a huge Australian music scene. There were some great rock bands through the 80s and
AC/DC, of
90s.
course.
Well,
AC/DC from
off the back of,
Australia?
of AC/DC, there were
Absolutely.
bands like you may not have heard of them, but Rose
Wolf
Tattoo.
Mother?
I'll be honest, I'm not a fan.
You don't
of
like Wolf Mother? I can tell.
You're like,
Look, there were a couple of songs I didn't mind, but then I'm not sure if you're aware. You probably aren't. Again,
I'm not.
This goes back to Triple J. Triple J helped obviously start their career. If it wasn't, I'm not saying if it wasn't for Triple J, they wouldn't have got anywhere. But Triple J gave them heavy airplay early on.
To be fair, I
and
only
then-
know their first album, and I kind of dug that 70s kind of retro
I
Led
wanna hear
Zeppelin
it
kind
now.
of
It's
feel,
got,
you
got a
know?
great sound.
Yeah.
But, I'm not a huge fan.
You know who I like that I don't know a lot about? Nick Cave. I've heard like 3 or 4 songs from him. He's kind of cool.
Yep.
He has like this deep gothic voice to him, at
Yes,
least
he
for that
does.
one, and I dug that. So I need to explore him a
Yeah,
little
go-
bit more.
Go back and have a look at some of his stuff by the birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he started. But yeah, Nick Cave is heavily underappreciated songwriter. Red Right Hand, Come Sail Your Ship Around Me. I've actually had, when I was working in the music store, I had one lady come in, request, like, look for that song, and then say this is what's going to be played at my funeral when she passes.
Okay.
oh
but
my God.
This lady was also, she would have been in her, I'm taking an uneducated guess, in her 50s, and she was looking for some energetic music to do some house cleaning to one particular day.
Oh, wow.
And I was playing Slayer's Decade of Aggression in the store at the time. And she's like, "What's this?" I said, "Oh, it's Slayer Decade of Aggression." She's like, "This is really good energy.
All right.
This would be good cleaning music."
Yes.
And so she ended up buying the double album
Okay.
and loving it.
You know what's funny is that's how she discovered Cradle of Filth.
I was cleaning, man.
She was cleaning. She had my, remember MP3 players back in the day? She had my
Yeah.
MP3 player and Cradle of Filth was on there.
and he came down the stairs. Talk to him. Go ahead. Let me know.
She's cleaning, but I see her crying. I come down the stairs and I see her crying. Like, why are you crying? And I look at her, I see she's listening to Cradle of Filth, and man, like, you know, this was before, obviously, this is long before we did reaction channels or anything.
Years.
You know how hard it is to get someone, your spouse, your girlfriend, or whatever, to want to listen to your music.
Why is
you
it
know,
so difficult?
because the music we listen to is so extreme.
So what?
You can't lead look, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? So I can play it for you and be like, what is this crap? To discover it on your own, though, is such a pleasant surprise, you know, to see it. And she was listening to, I think she was listening to, was it English Fire?
No, babe. Gabrielle.
Gabrielle, yeah. So this was off the Nymphetamine album. She was listening to Gabrielle, and she was listening to the part that, you know, when in every Cradle of Filth song where it gets almost religious and spiritual,
Yes,
and that part in
yes.
Gabrielle that it gets like that,
Yeah.
and she was crying. I think that might have been your first crying reaction. Your Make Sister Cry, or did you ever cry to Linkin Park?
Baby, I cry to all kind of music, but that's the first heavy metal.
That's your
type of
first
thing.
metal reaction, yeah.
Yes, it is.
I think, you know, and that's partly where I got the
cry to
idea
Linkin
from.
Park also, but they're not that hard. You know, they're more mainstream.
Well, you
so.
cry because of Chester, because you just love Chester so much.
I cry because
and
the
his
music
voice
is
was
beautiful,
so
babe.
ridiculous.
Not just his voice, everything about the group.
Yeah,
Stop.
talk about a band that meshed well. But okay,
Yeah.
we digress. Just to finish my point on Knee, because I said that they don't bring anything new to the table. Obviously, the way they mesh it together is special. The composition of music is special.
Yes,
If I
indeed.
take every part of their sound, so if I separate the vocal, if I separate the riff, I can point to another song that sounds similar to that. Like there's a part in Metallica's
that
one
true,
that,
Chaotic?
you know, the right?
We're on windmilling.
Right. But the thing is, we're all inspired by everyone that came before us, right? So there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's what you do with it and make it your own, and the ability to write a song. You might think lyrics are easy. Writing a song from scratch is not easy on any shape, in any level,
When you
in
say
any
writing
form.
a song, you mean the lyrics or just putting the music?
All of it.
Okay, now that I agree.
Just
I agree.
starting and saying we're going to make a new song,
That's what
come up
moves
with
me,
a
though.
riff,
Yeah.
and try to put a song around. That's not an easy
That
thing
is
to
what
do.
moves me, babe. I agree. I'm
Especially
not saying
when
that.
there's so much music around
Are
and
we
you want to make
here?
it sure.
Okay.
But you want to make it your own and you don't want to make it unique. You don't want to copy another artist.
Yeah.
Trying to make original music after how much music already exists.
Yes, babe.
It's not the easiest thing in the world.
And you know, people ask sometimes in the comments, you know, is it the singing that moves me? Is it the musicianship? You know, what is it? It's all of that.
Yeah.
All of those things move me to tears because it's so beautiful that they're putting this much effort into something to make a masterpiece. And I think that song was a masterpiece, in my opinion. Like, wow.
I agree. I don't throw the word around often, but I agree. I think that song is a masterpiece.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I can't-
again, going back, we've come full circle. It is being studied by classical students at a conservatorium with music.
That's very telling.
I can't point to any part of that song where I got bored or disconnected or anything.
Exactly, baby. Yes.
And I love that black metal cascading wall of sound. I
Oh,
live off of
man.
that, honestly.
Yeah.
So that never gets bored to me. There's certain sounds that never get bored to me. Folk metal never gets boring to me. And this kind of black metal cascade of
goodness.
what other people would consider
man.
noise
Yeah,
is
it was
just,
like he was just
to me,
raining down on
beautiful.
me.
It speaks to my soul and it makes me feel alive because there's something about the energy of that noise that
To me, with this one, it's the melodics of it, but it also combined with that blackened edge
Yeah.
that takes it to that next level.
yeah. Oof.
Man.
Where do we go from here, huh? I mean, your virgin ears are not virgin anymore. I mean, you're listening to some of the best, most complicated stuff
Yeah.
that's been out there. You're listening to great old school music.
Yeah.
You're listening to some new school stuff that
I'm
This
so
was
happy.
released in 2012. That was off their first album.
So awesome.
They've released 2 albums since then. People in the comments section will probably request songs from Citadel, their second album, Devour Me Colossus, or Painters of the Tempest Part 2 Triptych Lux, and probably Irie, I'm pretty sure it's pronounced, off Earn, which is their latest album, which was released in 2017. Not long after the release of the album, they let their bass player go. I don't want to go into that too much because I think it's too personal to the band and the bass player. If people want to understand that, they can go and look it up.
yeah. But I feel like the
Um,
band did the right thing.
You saw
Yeah, I
what
saw
that was all about.
what happened there. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't see the resolution to that. I just know that the band let him go based on the allegations. I guess because they just don't want to be associated.
From what I've read and understand about it, his mother was abusive towards him, and through his childhood, through part of his adulthood as well, and eventually he's turned around and unfortunately pushed or struck her. I don't know the exact details of that. I can't condone that.
So the domestic part was with his mom, not with a girlfriend or
Yes.
something. With his mom.
No, that's right.
Gotcha.
But obviously, with that in the background, that would have, I believe, that was creating other issues within the band.
Yes, I can imagine.
Whether it be tendencies of aggression towards other members of the band or things
Gotcha.
like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, they let him go. They have a new bass player, Mario. I can't remember his last name at the moment. But apparently they actually had online auditions for him, and by all accounts, he's doing a great job.
Okay. So is life. Complicated backgrounds and abuse tends to lead to more abuse. They tend to pay it forward. You know.
Yeah.
That's the. I never really understood it, but that seems to be the pattern where people get abused when they're young, and somehow, instead of learning from it and not being abusive, they kind of become abusive themselves. It's an interesting pattern.
Some people do learn from it, and I
Yes.
suppose it
Right.
all depends on. It could be so many different things that affect people.
Transferring that anger that they have onto someone else, and they're just kind of paying it forward, I guess, in a way. So,
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Well, I want.
that was awesome.
I'm kind of feeling emotional. This is stupid.
Speak your mind, baby. What's up?
But no, I just want to thank you for
The support coming on here, all of it.
thank you for the support.
Oh no. Here we go.
and wanted to share this beautiful song with me, and wanted to share the moment with me. It's really sweet, and I don't take
It was
you.
worth. It was very well worth it. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I enjoyed both of your reactions to it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And yes, I had to bring this one to you because I didn't see it getting done with the rest of what you've got to do
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
through your journey. And Wolf, that is another thing. Can we get a list on Discord of things we are not allowed
They're
to
always
record?
asking that.
Um,
Because they want to, because during our
But-
chit chat sessions, they want to play songs for me, and they,
Yeah. The thing
Eventually.
is I like both because we do the in case you missed it when she does a reaction on the Twitch. I still put it on YouTube. Obviously, I can't realistically get to everything
yeah, so
that
many.
is out there. There's too much content.
Right, right.
There are certain things like I definitely wanted to share Metallica with her, Iron Maiden and stuff like that. The really big bands.
Really big ones, yeah. Big four.
And
well, the one in particular I was almost snuck through was Suicidal Tendencies, who
I wanna hear that
are
one.
almost alongside Metallica and Anthrax, and
wanna
well, that's
hear
another
that
one
one next.
as well. Is Anthrax? There's original thrash bands from the early '80s. They have heavy influence on my music.
yeah, I would say
listen
avoid the big thrash bands.
The big four.
Well, Suicidal isn't part of the big four. They were more of a
I
crossover
know.
band, but
But we'll get this. They may not have been part of the Big Four, but they were the support band for the Big Four.
sure.
Exactly.
No, they were in the mix certainly, and
Yeah.
they have their
Yeah.
own special story. But the
Yeah.
thing is, like, I really want her when she's on her stream, she can't give the song the same attention that she does when we're just
That's
doing a
true.
pure reaction. So, I would say, once we do a band like Suicidal Tendencies, like I'm assuming, what do you think? How Will I Laugh Tomorrow? As a
No,
first? No? Which one?
You can't bring me down.
Okay.
Or institutionalized.
Well, those are more punky, but I feel like how can I? The reason I want to start her with How Can I Laugh Till Tomorrow is I like how the guitar is peppered from beginning to end, and I kind of I you know what I mean. And I feel like the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
ones
yeah.
are more punky, and she can get into it. But I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah,
we'll get a
yeah.
more visceral reaction from that one, and then
Oh,
you
yeah.
can like hit her with
funny.
those on the stream and stuff.
Oh my goodness.
Excellent.
Um,
I can't wait till I hit you with that.
Oh my god.
It's probably besides Possessed Escape, which is probably the song that got me into Suicidal Tendencies, and the video clip for Possessed Escape. It's my favorite Suicidal song.
Okay.
It's just got a real.
Okay.
It's in the title. You Can't Bring Me Down.
Yeah. Okay. Like an anthem.
A little
yeah,
bit, yes.
they.
But
I
punch you in
mean,
the face. Pow, pow, pow.
More a message than an anthem,
Smushing the pie in
in
your
my
face.
opinion.
Okay.
one thing I have to Google because Sir Toyfield, he says he actually knows the band because he lives up there in California, and he said that they were a gang, which I don't remember.
A gang?
A gang, yeah.
They-
Now I'm not sure if that was.
They weren't a gang as such. I believe, from what I've researched and remember on it, that because of the area they were from, they were gang affiliated.
Right.
Like, obviously in LA in the '80s, you're aware of the Bloods and the Crips.
Right.
Uh-huh.
One of Mike Muir. Mike Muir, I'm pretty sure is the singer.
Yeah.
Psycho Myko, as he's pretty well known. One of his trademark things is wearing blue bandanas.
Right.
Ew,
Um,
that's problematic.
The thing is, I always
Which-
thought that I didn't associate it with like. It's funny. I kind of associated it with like Cheech and Chong and like that kind of. I always looked at it as funny. I never once
Yeah.
when I was a kid. I didn't look at it as like gang affiliated. I always look at it like
Well,
this is hilarious. He's
neither
like
did
a
we just got into the music.
yeah.
You know?
But it never occurred to me that was he had that entire. I want to say cholo. Am I saying? Would that be correct?
Yeah,
Right?
the Latino, like the American Latino.
There was a certain
typical
style that they had, which was
Yeah,
the flannel
yeah.
shirt, the
button
Yeah,
to
the
the neck.
bandanas.
Yeah.
Yeah, button to neck. Yeah.
right, and but that wasn't the Bloods though, right? The Bloods were
No, the Bloods were red. The Crips were blue.
Blue.
right, but I'm saying that wasn't Crips either, because weren't Latin gangs separate from both of them?
I think
Mate, I'm from Darwin, Australia.
Okay, that's the googling I got to do, because that's what.
Yeah.
Because Sir was telling me that, and he's saying that at one point they weren't allowed to play because they.
That is true. They
That's
played a gig in some place, and the first 10 rows of seats were ripped up because, as you say, they're sort of punkish, hard thrash.
I
punk
want more
type
punk
stuff.
in my future.
This is they played a theatre that had seating, and the first couple of rows got ripped up by the audience.
Got to make room to
And-
dance, yeah.
It's crazy.
and from then on, they couldn't get insurance to play in California, and
Oh wow.
that's where a bit of the gang affiliation accusations and things got tied into them as well. So
Mike always seemed like a sweetheart, though, so I never associated that.
you always got that impression of him as well. A guy who was happy singing in front of whatever band, whether it be what was the Psycho Myco and the Infectious Grooves.
Right.
You guys, I believe you've done a reaction to
Yes,
Infectious Grooves.
I like them.
Yes.
That confused
remember
the hell out of
seeing
me as a kid, though. No lie, like when Suicidal, I guess effectively what I thought broke up, they came back with Infectious Grooves, and I'm like, well, where's my skater metal band? Like, this is, you know who did something similar was the Beastie Boys. I don't know if you remember
the
when,
In Sound from the Way Out is one of my favorite albums. It is awesome.
but they confused me
Yeah.
because I used to listen to License to
It
Ill
came out
all the
with-
time.
Yeah.
And then they went funk, and I'm like, this is a completely different sound.
Why
This
you
is
doing
like,
that?
I like it now. Like, I get it. You know, your musical taste
Of
matures.
course.
Yeah,
But
I
back
was
then,
working in
I
the
was
music shop when that came out, and I loved it straight away. I just loved the funkiness of it, the 70s porn vibe of some of it.
Yes. It was such a stark contrast. But you know what? As an artist, you know,
Yeah, and just proves that they're not just hip hop / rap artists; they're actual instrumentalists as well.
That's
That whole
dope.
album, there's no vocals; it's an entirely instrumental album.
yeah,
So cool.
yeah. And Robert Trujillo. I mean,
Oh, Robert.
let's not
Yeah,
forget
well,
him. He
yeah.
was
That's my boo.
he was part of that Suicidal scene. So yeah.
Let's look at where he's at now.
It's funny. I love how he still maintains his style even after all these years. Like he
He's
could
so
still.
cool.
he-
I haven't followed any trends,
Yeah.
just following his own thing, you know?
Yeah.
What's up?
We're old school, man.
There's the Alien Weaponry shirt I bought before the gig, and then wore
Nice.
at the front row while I was watching them. They
That is
were
so cool.
absolutely awesome.
I'm sure they were.
And
Jeez.
the sweetest thing of all, I got the set list of Ethan.
That's their set list.
That's Ethan's set list.
They just wrote it like that.
Are you serious?
So what they did was they all come to the front of the stage while one of their backstage people come up behind the drum kit and took a photo of them, like with the crowd behind them.
Gotcha.
Uh-huh.
And if you saw some of the photos I put on Discord there, they had a pretty impressive crowd for a first up band.
Wow.
Like they
that's
were second on stage
awesome.
there, and I was speaking to a few people during the day, and everyone was blown away by them. Everyone who saw them
man.
thought they were absolutely awesome.
They're
That's
awesome, man. They're the
wonderful.
future. They're awesome.
Yeah, they are baby metal.
Okay. I would love to react to another Baby Metal song.
I didn't. You know, we did a. You know what we did.
I didn't see the first video that
I'm
you
so
put up.
Which is good. Trust me.
I could see that it would have been pretty cringe from your
Oh,
reaction
baby.
in the new video.
Cringe, indeed.
A lot of understanding had to be put in there. A
Indeed.
lot of context.
Yes.
But even now, I need to hear more because even though now that I understand it, and I don't dislike it, I'm still not 100% on board. If I'm going to be honest,
Okay.
I can
Yep,
enjoy
fair
it.
enough.
I don't listen to it on my personal time. You know what I mean? It's like I can
Yeah.
appreciate what they're doing, and I do recognize it's bringing new people in that normally wouldn't be listening to metal, and that's always a good thing. I think these artists need to eat, and the more fans that metal has, the better. This is this band is a good
Well,
example
they
of
own
that.
their own record label, so they're doing pretty good.
That's what I'm saying, though. But I mean, what I'm talking about, it branching out. If you're a fan of this band, you'll be a fan of other bands, and other bands need that support
Indeed,
as well.
indeed.
So it's the big bands that give the little bands a little feeding,
We spoke about this
And
briefly.
by taking them on tour as support acts as well is another great way. These
Exactly.
guys toured America last year as Winter Sun's support act, I believe.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So we need these
course.
big bands to help all the other bands.
But my question, though, we spoke about this on my stream the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and it was SJ. When you mentioned Baby Metal and Newstead, that's his name, right?
Jason Newsted?
No, babe.
Oh, you're
no.
talking about Marty Friedman.
Marty Friedman, forgive
Yeah.
me. Marty Friedman. My eyes rolled because I thought back to where you were during that reaction, Baby Metal. You were saying that Marty feels that Baby Metal has done it right and that we should all follow behind Baby Metal.
Mhm.
I don't agree with that, but what do you feel, Keanu?
I feel they definitely have their place in metal.
Oh,
or in
absolutely
music,
that.
Full stop.
Oh, definitely.
You do need to see more of them.
Okay.
The thing with baby metal is they aren't one particular style of metal that goes with the J-pop side of it.
You say that it isn't a particular style of metal?
It's not just one sound. They do vary.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, you have to remind me which songs you've done
We just did.
in the and you did
Rondo
2 songs,
Nightmare, I
didn't you?
believe, is the one we did.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Right. Was that with the opening gods intro?
Yes,
Yeah.
which is excellent.
That-
yes,
Oh
yes,
my
yes.
God.
Yes.
Here's where I'm at. The reaction we did and the educating of myself that I did in that video helped me be on your level in the sense that they absolutely do belong.
Oh, definitely.
They absolutely do belong. They have a place in
Yes.
metal. Now it's about, not every song, of course, is going to be for me. People like Chocolate. I just think it's a silly song. It's a fun song, but on what
that's
what
exactly
level
what
would
it
I
is.
listen to that on my own? You know what I mean? On what?
No,
I
that's right. It's more about create. For me, Chocolate was my first experience with baby metal.
Really?
I have a friend who actually lives in Japan now,
Okay.
married to a Japanese woman. And one day, this is before he moved to Japan, he's like, "Oh, check this out." And I'm like, "Oh my God, what is this?" But besides the shock factor, it took a little while to sort of realize what was going on. And that was, I believe, that video for that one was released before the Kami band was more established behind them.
Right.
The Kami
Okay.
band was more sort
exactly.
of skeleton costumes.
Yeah.
I believe the Kami band is what has give them legitimacy amongst
Exactly.
the metal community and the music community in general. Songs like, have you seen Karate?
Yes.
Okay. To me, that's more gent
Mm-hmm.
than that. Road to Resistance, which is another popular one that you probably got a lot of requests for.
Right.
That one, I believe, was written by Herman Lee of Dragon. The influence in that.
Okay.
So they're not one style of metal that goes with the J-pop.
That's awesome.
They like to sort of explore it.
That's beautiful.
No, that's true. But that was the mistake we made in the first reaction, is that we saw the Kami band and the girls as separate.
Indeed.
Because they are legitimate musicians who are
Yes.
100% metal.
They are,
No
I think, top of
argument.
the line, man. They're awesome.
And then you sprinkle in the girls and you have this gimmick,
It felt gimmicky the first one we reacted to.
Yeah.
I wasn't used to it. It was like, oh my God, what is this in my ear?
which song did you actually react to first?
I forget the name of it.
It's the one where there's like they're
Oh,
being
it's Catch Me
chased.
If You Can.
Yes. Okay,
yeah.
there we go. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So probably not the best first song to listen to, but there was no clear you know how the violin meshed beautifully with this song, and there was
Oh, yes.
there was no
Yeah.
distinct line in the musicality of this song.
For me, it wasn't either.
To me, there was a hard line between the girls and the band that didn't mesh.
It felt like,
You know?
okay,
I
this is,
get
I'm digging this. Okay. Like, whoa, what happened? Why did it just do that? That's exactly how it felt for me. It took me out of the experience, unlike the song we just reacted to. It kept me in the experience.
Now, it's my understanding that as they've matured, they've started to mesh a little bit better. And that's understandable when you think of, I mean, this was technically a new gimmick when they first started it.
Yep.
it's going to be a little rough at the beginning, and it's going to get better as it improves over time. So that makes sense. But again, the understanding of how the girls came to be in the first place was very important to me, and that's the part that we were
Yes.
missing, because
Yep.
the culture of
Indeed.
Japan is very different from America. So you've
Exactly.
got to understand that culture in order to understand what's happening with them, you know? So that's what really helped me to kind of digest what's happening here. And not just look at it from just the surface level of what I'm seeing, you know, because when I see like karate, I'm seeing very choreographed, very, you know, deliberate, very popular. And, you know, I tend, as a metalhead, I tend to recoil from that because I don't want this mainstream nonsense. I want my stuff to be underground, right? Old school, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
But see,
not
that's
not
where,
commercial,
this is,
you know?
This is where we are different.
Yeah.
It's the melody that drew me in with baby metal alongside the metal.
Right.
Okay.
I may not have
go
even
for
heard it,
something
you know,
a
because
little
I'm
more
already being
extreme.
turned off, you know?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So that's what it does. When the more you educate yourself, you open yourself up to the actual music, and don't just get turned off by the visuals and what's happening. And you know, so you got to get past that sticking point. You know, you can argue if someone just hears this and doesn't understand what they're hearing, they'll just hear noise. You know,
That is true.
when you become more open to what's happening here, and you hear the individual instruments and you hear how they're meshing and stuff, the noise goes away and the melody comes in, and you start to be able to hear it.
Exactly.
Not everybody hears it. Some people just hear straight noise and don't get it.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is very true.
So yeah, it takes a little practice sometimes. Not this was amazing.
No, not this at all.
But
You see, he can talk forever.
I'm trying to stop. But
Yeah. It must be getting late for you guys over there.
Yeah, it's almost 10 o'clock. You can shut it down.
all right.
But
All
thank
right.
you so much, Chaotic. I enjoyed you, baby. I enjoyed having you on my screen, looking at your beautiful face. And I enjoyed the song immensely.
And now we have a friend in Australia.
Yes, we have a friend in Australia. So if we travel to Australia...
You got to keep one in because you got to hear him.
Okay. Yes. I'm excited. But definitely if we travel to Australia, we'd love to meet you, Chaotic. Baby, that'd be
He's
awesome.
got to come to the city. I don't know if I feel comfortable going to the outback.
Why not?
They got some interesting animals over there.
The animals?
It's just as dangerous in the cities as it is outside.
Oh.
I know. I have to tell myself that. I know it's a cliche that everything
Look,
Australia wants to kill you, but I don't want to.
It is a cliche, but at the same time, like especially in my area, you do have to be a little bit careful and aware of what you're doing. Like you can't just go down to the local river or you sort of can, but it's not generally advised that you go and jump in the local river because you could get eaten by a crocodile.
Mm-hmm.
So the crocodile's not
But
friendly?
in saying that, they do trap the areas. Sorry?
The crocodiles are not friendly?
She's being stupid.
They don't know, but I mean, the crocodiles down here.
What you see, where you see those guys doing alligator wrestling,
Uh-huh.
see that you would not see that here.
Ours
Oh.
are docile. They're chill.
Okay.
All right, man. Awesome.
Thank you so
Cheers,
much.
guys. Sorry for taking up so much of your time. It
Oh,
has-
don't apologize. You gotta be kidding me. We enjoyed it so much. Keep
Awesome.
smiling because your smile is beautiful.
Yeah.
Look at that
Thank you.
smile. Look at that smile.
Yeah. Good looking dude. My mom was a professional
Beautiful.
volleyball player, by the way.
She's
Semi-professional. as
starting
well.
up again.
I'm sorry.
This is what I
We're
go
done. We're
through.
done. We're done.
I'm definitely going to do it again. I'm just not 100% sure when
Okay.
I can,
Okay.
but it'll 100% happen
Totally.
again, and
Awesome.
we'll have another great discussion.
Okay, baby. Thank you. Mwah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend.
Bye for now.
No worries, guys. See ya.
See you.
He's a little too cool, man. He's a little too cool.